Hey guys, this is Lime here, back in for another Feed the Beast tutorial. Today we're talking about basic ore processing. So you're probably wondering, what is ore processing? Well, in default Minecraft you'll run across numerous types of ores, but really there's sort of two categories you can put them in. There's ores that drop as ores, like this iron ore here. Most of the metallic ores fall into this category. And there's other ones that drop either gems or other materials, like this diamond ore or this nether quartz. Now, with these ones over here on the right side, they can be used right away. You can get a diamond out of it, and you can use that in crafting as it is. But the iron ore, it comes out as an ore. You can't use that in crafting. It has to be processed first. In this case, processing is smelting. So obviously we can just, throw a piece into a furnace and we'll eventually get ourselves a piece of iron, like an iron ingot. Now this applies same as it is in default Minecraft as it is in Feed the Beast. You can do this. And all the new metallic ores and stuff added by Feed the Beast, like your copper, tin, and whatever, will all do the same kind of thing. But we're modded, so we might as well do it in a bit more cool of a way or make it more useful. So, for example, here, if we use the power, like the RF we generated in our previous tutorial on basic power setups, we can use something like this redstone furnace from thermal expansion, where we can throw in a piece of iron ore and we can still create an iron ingot. The benefits of this is that, well, we don't use coal in this process. We use our power, which we can generate through numerous sources. But at the same time, it's a slight bit faster than the furnaces. It doesn't waste fuel like this one does when there's nothing in it, because we're not going to drain power unless we're using it. But also at the same time, we can speed this up significantly further and make it incredibly fast. There's some examples of some other types of furnace type items we have. Obviously, as mentioned right there, the redstone furnace. There's also an alloy smelter from Ender.io, or if you're using industrial craft, the electric furnace. There's a couple others out there, but these are some really good ones to start with. But we can take this a step further with something called ore doubling. Now, ore doubling is pretty simple. We double the amount of resources we get from our ores. We do this by using things like this pulverizer here, where we can put in a piece of iron ore, and this will crush it into, in this case, pulverized iron. And you see there we got 2 pulverized iron from 1 ore. Now each of these pieces of iron can be smelted again, either in a redstone furnace or any sort of smelting setup like a standard furnace, and we get an iron ore per. So we've doubled the amount of iron we get out of each one. So it's incredibly useful. Just doubling your resources is super useful, and definitely will help you get into these more late game or mid game situations where you need a lot more resources than you can really mine. So incredibly useful from that point of view. Also useful for rare resources, but we can also extend this further out in the future, and we can get more than two products for every resource put in. But it's more difficult to do. Or doubling is really the starting point, and it's one of the basic things you should be getting to as soon as possible. With that, there's other versions of the pulverizer. Essentially, obviously there is the pulverizer, but there's also the sag mill from Ender.io. Does very much the same things. It also has the chance to drop, like the pulverizer, has a chance to drop different materials, excess materials, over what you would normally get. So you could get like some random extra bonuses. Like if I'm not mistaken, with pulverizing iron, there's a percent chance of getting some gold, or dust out of it. The sag mill has the same thing. You can get a lot of extra items out of it every time you use it. It can also be upgraded to be faster, just like the pulverizer can. And you can actually increase the yield of this by using different grinding mediums. In this case, a common one is a dark steel ball, which, as you can see here, the main output of the sag mill gets increased by 150%, the bonus output by 200%, and it reduces the power usage. So there's many ways you can improve this. There's some other items you can put in there, do the same kind of stuff. And if you're using industrial craft, there is the macerator, and there's upgraded variants of this that can be overclocked even further to be even faster. It works the same way, but it uses EU, obviously, because it's industrial craft. You can just put an item in the top, and it will break it into dusts. And same thing, you get 2 for every usage. So with any of the mod packs, you can do this ore doubling process. But quickly here, I'm going to show you how to do a basic setup to get you started, because you really want to get on this as fast as possible. You want to make and process as few of your ores as possible in the traditional Minecraft way with furnaces, and you want to get to doubling as soon as possible, because other than that, every piece of ore you just smelt normally is a piece of ore you lost that you could have had. So to do this, we're going to want to start with just digging a bit of a hole here, and then we're going to put some water in here. This is for our aqueous accumulator because we're going to use a steam dynamo, which obviously if you've seen my previous video on basic power sources in Feed the Beast, you know that the steam dynamo is an incredibly effective power source. So let this fill up with water here, as you can see. Put down our dynamo on top of it. We'll put an energy cell beside it, and we'll use our crescent hammer to rotate it until it's facing into the energy cell. So there we go. That's our basic power setup done. An important thing to note here is that the leadstone energy cell does require some items to get, which is going to be a bit harder early on. Most of the stuff's really easy to craft, but in this case with this one, you're going to need to have an electrum ingot. Electrum ingots, if you have Tinker's Construct installed, you can get electrum through alloying in your smeltery, but otherwise you're going to have to break items into dust, because you'll see here with this electrum grit, you're going to need dust, powder, grit, pulverized, whatever you want to call it, gold and silver. So you're going to need one of these basic machines. So the easy way to do that, so before you have this energy cell, is just build your pulverizer, because you're going to need it for this setup anyways, and it's really cheap. Place it down, and then just rotate your steam dynamo until it's facing into it. And then you can just put some coal in here. As you see, it's filled up with water, thanks to our aqueous accumulator. Just put some coal in here, or charcoal, whatever other burnable material you have. Get a bit of power into the pulverizer, and then just put a piece of gold ore in there, put a piece of silver. You'll get the dusts, and then you can make your electrum. Just smelt it in a normal furnace, and you only need one piece, and you'll be able to build your energy cell. Once you have your energy cell, you're going to want to have your power being output in there. Now, in this case, since we're running 2 machines, we want to have expandability to run more machines in the future. Instead of just putting them right beside our energy cell, we're instead going to use some flux ducts. The leadstone flux ducts are incredibly cheap to make. 2 pieces of lead, a bit of redstone, a piece of glass, incredibly easy. We're going to actually dig down here and we'll fill in our water a bit here. And we'll put down some flux ducts. We need to make sure we configure our outputs on our energy cell. Any side that's got these sort of orangey or coppery looking corners on it, that's an output. The blues are inputs. In this case, this is the downward side. It's already got the copper outputs on it, so this will be powered. If you wanted to output to the side or upwards or whatever, just left click on it, and you'll get the outputs there. But in this case, we'll just leave them all as inputs. First, we're going to place down our pulverizer, followed by our redstone furnace, and we're going to place a chest on this end and a chest on top here. To place it on top, hold shift and then right click. Now we're going to go into our pulverizer's configuration here. You see here that within the pulverizer we have a blue square around our input, a red square around our primary output, and then a yellow square around our secondary output. These correspond to the colors you're going to see over here. So with the blue square on top, that means we're going to pull in stuff from this chest on top and put it into our inputs. We can change this by changing the color here on the top side here. So you'll see here our top side is red now, so it's going to output upwards, but we want it pulling in on top, so we're going to leave it blue. We want our outputs, both our primary and secondary, to go into our furnace, which is to our right. Right now it's set up to be red facing to the side, but we want it to be orange. Orange will give us both the primary and the secondary, so we'll have it set up to orange there. Now within our redstone furnace, it's pulling from the top. We want it to be pulling inputs from the left side, so we're going to change that to blue, and it's already set up with orange with our outputs on the right side. We only have one output in this case. So there we go. That's all of our setup right there. Incredibly simple. We'll put a bit of gold ore in the top here to get started, and then we'll place some coal into our steam dynamo. It's going to build up some steam, and it will start generating some power in a second here. It'll just take it a second to get going. You won't see any power building up in these because the power is actually charging up the machines first. It'll fill up the buffers inside of each of the machines and within the cable itself before it fills up the energy cell or the internal buffer. But now you can see we have some power in here. That's great. Then it should start pulling down here in a second. Alright guys, I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, because we're playing currently in Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved, Infinity Evolved is actually a mod pack that uses slightly older versions of a lot of the mods. In the current versions of Thermal Expansion, you're going to see that you won't have, when you go to the Augmentations tab here on the right, you won't have these because they're automatically built into the machines. And one of the things is an automatic ability to pull items into the machine. That's so if you're playing any of the newer mod packs in a newer version of Minecraft, currently this is I believe 1.7, you're not going to have this problem. But if you are playing in Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved or any of the other older mod packs, you're going to need to get yourself what's called a hopper upgrade or a hopper apparatus. They're really easy to make. Iron nuggets and a pneumatic servo, which is just some glass, redstone, and iron. Super easy to make. Open up your augmentation tab and throw that in, and it will immediately pull the gold in from your chest. Now you'll see here, nothing shows up in our output. That's because it's already in our furnace. And as it builds up here, it'll just kick it out into our chest. Now with this, all we have to do to keep this setup running, we can throw in any number of different ores up into our top section here, whatever we want. So when we come back from mining, you're going to come into your house, chuck all of your ores up in here, and they'll get processed. Just make sure you got some coal in here, or some extra power stored up in your energy cell. And then we'll continue to process automatically. Alright guys, now if you decided to go with EU as your power source, we can go ahead and look at the industrial craft method of doing a basic ore processing setup. It's very much the same way, very similar to the same thing we just did with the thermal expansion method. A little more annoying in my opinion, but it is what it is. So we'll start off very simply with making sure we have our cabling a bit hidden here, just to make our look a little cleaner. So we'll dig a hole down like this, and what we'll do is we'll run cabling like this. Or actually, before we do that, let's place our bat box up here. Now the bat box has this dot on its output, and we're going to need our output facing down like that. Then we do that by right clicking with our industrial craft wrench. You right click on the bottom side, it'll face down into these cables. Then we can just run the cables across like this. We're going to want to place our macerator, followed by our electric furnace, and chest on top here, and a chest to the side here, and then our generator. Our generator right here. And then we're going to go inside our macerator. There's no configuration, and this is something I don't like about Industrial Craft, which especially the new versions of thermal expansion, but even still the old versions have that it doesn't, which is it doesn't eject or have configurations or have pulling capabilities for items. So in this case, if this operates exactly like a standard furnace would in Minecraft, where items have to be manually put in or taken out or put in with a hopper, which is kind of annoying. You can, though, in this case, what we're going to do in this case is use pulling upgrades or ejector upgrades. They're pretty expensive in my opinion. They can be made, the items are available in the early game. You can do them if you want. You need more insulated copper cable. Obviously we already have some for down below here, which by the way, you can use uninsulated copper cable down there, but there's some benefits in terms of how much power can be transferred through the insulated cable, and it really isn't that much more expensive, so I'd highly recommend using it. But again, you have to make these pulling upgrades, which are just a pain in the butt to make. Slime is more available in modded Minecraft. As you can see, there's many different types. There's raw rubber or balls of glue that can be used for these. It's still just a pain in my opinion to make these pulling upgrades. The ejector upgrades are a little bit easier because they don't require the slime, but other than that, they're the same recipe. But we're going to throw a pulling upgrade into our macerator, a pulling upgrade into our electric furnace, and an ejector upgrade into our electric furnace. So by the way, that's what we're going to need here is a generator, bat box, macerator, electric furnace, 2 pulling upgrades, 2 ejector upgrades, and at least 3 cables of any type, really. Other than that, this setup is done. All you have to do, throw your ore in the top here, and we're going to have to power this setup. For that, we're just going to grab some coal, but charcoal or wood all work the same here. As you can hear, the power is starting up here. There we go. It takes a second for the macerator to start building up some charge. As you'll see, the bat box won't gain any power until the buffers internally. on these are all filled up, and they make a crap load of noise. So I'm just gonna pull out this stuff. That's a bit of an annoyance there. But yeah, basically this will run all the way through and eject out to the side. You did see one slight annoyance there, which is that we had a piece of gold ore go back in because of the pulling upgrade. This is why I don't particularly like using industrial craft. There is another way of doing this which won't have any back processing or anything like that, and is a little bit cheaper, and that's using hoppers, which you can see right here. But as you can see, the amount of area it takes up is huge, because you need to have 3 hoppers in the setup, which is a bit of a pain, but this does work and can be done. This is the exact same idea as over there. We have a macerator going into an electric furnace. So you see here, chest flows out into the macerator, down into the electric furnace, then down and out into a chest. But we're going to need a bit more cabling here to run up the back from our generator to power these. This setup, I didn't even bother throwing on a bat box, but all you have to do, place it right here and have the output facing up like that. And this setup will function exactly the same as this, if anything a little bit better. It's cheaper, but it's a bit uglier. Either way, these are sort of some ideas of how you can make basic setups. These are super easy to do. Both these can be done, you know, within an hour or less of starting out your world. Some people who are pretty experienced can probably get this done in 30 minutes or less from the start of a world, and then you can be doubling ores right away. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I've been Lime, and have a great day.